This is Devin Dotson with the United States Botanic Garden, and I'm here with Michelle Joan Wilkinson from the National Museum of African American History and Culture. Welcome.
Thank you.
And good morning, and thanks for joining us. We're actually real excited to partner here this morning and chat a little bit about our brand new plant-based model in our holiday show here at the U.S. Botanic Garden, which is the National Museum of African American History and Culture. So if you've come to visit us already this holiday season, since Thanksgiving Day, you've seen this brand new beautiful model on display. And for those of you who've visited in the past and are aware of our big Capitol building and Washington Monument, which you can see overhead, all made out of plant parts, we're excited to add this to our new permanent collection that'll be coming back every year for our holiday show. And so we just want to talk a little bit about the two buildings, what some of the inspiration behind their actual building and why it looks the way it does, and why we've replicated some of those things out of plant parts and what plant parts we've replicated them with. And so, well, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
We're so excited to have you here. If you've been to DC in the last year or so, you've clearly seen a brand new, beautiful building down at the other end of the National Mall. And so, actually, I would love to hear, maybe tell us a little bit about your building. Why does it look the way it does? What kind of is unique about the design? What are some of the materials that make up your actual building in real life?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me here at the U.S. Botanic Garden, and it's amazing to see a building that's a replica of ours made out of plants. So you all did a wonderful job, and congratulations to the artisans that worked on this also. So our building pretty much looks like this. This is a three-tiered structure. When you come to the museum, you'll see the most significant thing that you see from a distance are these three tiers that are rising up out of the ground, and we call that our corona. Corona is another term for crown. And so one of the inspirations was from a sculpture by Aloe Ise, who was a Yoruban master carver, and he created these things called veranda posts that would hold up a porch or a veranda. And at the very top portion of the post that he carved would be this three-tiered form. And one of our lead architects, or our lead designer, David I.J., who's really a kind of global citizen, African-born, grew up around the world, was looking at Aloe Ise's sculptures, really this architectural form from West Africa, and used that as one of the inspirations for the building.
And clearly, not only does the corona have the three layers, but there's this intricate outer work. So tell us what you call that and what that is and what it's made of.
So the intricate outer work, the kind of exterior of the building is, we call the whole thing the corona, which is primarily the shape. And then we look at the lattice work, and there are 3,600 different panels, individual panels that make up the building exterior. And so it's really wonderful to see here. I think this is black walnut that's made to look like those corona panels. And each of the panels, there are 4 different designs that are on the museum, and those designs also have to do with panels that are more open and panels that are a bit more dense. And that density and that openness is related to sustainability, one of the things that you guys care about and we care about as well. And so the ones that are more open, lit, and more light, the ones that are more dense, provide more cooling areas, and they're strategically placed around the museum. And so we see some of that kind of variety looking at this model. In particular, the lattice work is also related to the really ornate designs that African Americans, freed and enslaved, were doing in South Carolina, in Charleston, in Louisiana, in New Orleans. And so the kind of legacy of those craftsmen is in the material form of our building.
That makes sense. We get a lot of questions in our building about, oh my goodness, it's beautiful. Who made it? What's it made out of primarily? And primarily is an interesting word depending on the building we're talking about. Ours, the one you see the most of, is actually these walnut shells, and they're cut in cross-section slivers here. And I think the beauty from the plant world is that even though we're using many pieces of the exact same plant material, the walnut shell, each one of them does have a different effect. And so it gives it a slightly unique take on a natural change in the plant world. And as she was talking about other places where you're getting more light or less light into the museum, I know there's also the viewing ports out of the lattice work, and we have those replicated throughout. You're going to see one there. It's salal leaves on our building that make those viewing ports, and you can find several of them throughout the building.
Right.
But I know you also talked about sustainability, and we get a lot of questions about what is on top of our building. Why are those huge pods, and why are they there? Well, I can tell you the huge pods literally are made out of Royal Point Sienna pods. And so there's these beautiful long pods, and they've got these beautiful striations on them, but it's replicating something very specific. So what is that on top of your building?
Solar panels. Right?
Solar panels.
Yes.
So it's part of your sustainability story, right?
It is, right. So in 2017, the museum was certified LEED Gold, Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design, and we're the first museum designed to that standard and to meet that standard on the National Mall as a Smithsonian museum. So we're really delighted about that. And so from the very beginning, we wanted to be a 21st century museum, right? We wanted to make sure that we were state of the art, and that also meant sustainability and green design, and so we're delighted to have achieved that certification.
We're excited to celebrate this as well, not only through things like the solar panels where we talk about literally and physically what can you see on the museum that talks about sustainability, but we have a counterpart that we're really excited about that goes along with the LEED certification. Just as you can certify a building with LEED certification, we, along with the Lady Bird Johnson Wildflower Center, developed a program called Sustainable Sites, and it is now overseen by the same group, the Green Building Council, who does LEED certifications for buildings. You can now certify a landscape around a building as a sustainable landscape as well, and so you can look for that sites certification. And in fact, we did our Bartholdi Park as a renovation project last year, and it's now been on track for getting certified as gold certified through the site certification. So we're really excited on the other end of the mall to have a brand new certification from the same sustainability people. So we're excited to celebrate that and talk about it. I will mention kind of one or two of the other things that we get questions about, and I think it has some counterpoints from your side. What are the windows made out of? And for us, that's poured resin, but also what are the other things that we're seeing down here? These are other windows. And so we've got different bamboo twigs that are making some of the different levels, and we also have a different one here that is making the birch sticks that are making the other windows. And I know that windows around the bottom are also there with a porch, right? There's normally a porch. Our building doesn't have the porch.
Yeah.
That can be a little difficult for transporting and moving if we're bringing it back and forth every year, so we definitely didn't want to break it.
Yeah.
But I know the porch is a big part of your design.
Right.
So would you tell us about the porch and why that exists there on your building?
The porch is actually one of our key features, and so if you enter the museum from the southern side, which is the mall side of the museum of the National Mall, you enter under a porch, right? You enter under this canopy, and right below the porch is also a water feature. And so the idea for the porch is part of African American kind of architectural, cultural geography, I would say, in the sense that it becomes a space where conversations happen between families, different generations, where there may be hair braiding, there may be gossip, there may be neighbors coming. It's a welcoming space, right? And so to take that idea of what happens on a porch and attach that to a national museum related to African American history and culture is so significant. And then even harkening back to the idea that the form, the corona, comes from this veranda post, which is part of a veranda or a porch structure that's connected to West Africa, right? A place that so many people came from as enslaved here to the Americas. And so the porch is really this welcoming spot when you come into the museum, and it makes us think about family, but also it makes us really allows us a space for refuge before we enter the museum.
That totally makes sense. You know, we as the Botanic Garden are a place where families come, right? They gather and we offer an area of respite to kind of relax, immerse yourself in a natural world. And so we understand that premise of kind of having a space dedicated for that. I had one other question that I wanted to ask you about before we kind of like sign off this morning. And I know that when we're talking about your building, we talk about the time frame. I was curious about how long did it take your artists and architects to build your building?
So in 2009, there was the design competition, and the winning architectural team was Freelon Ajay Bond Smith Group. And so that's a team of 4 different architectural firms: Freelon Group, Phil Freelon, David Ajay of Ajay Associates, and Max Bond of Davis Brody Bond, and Smith Group. And those firms came together to design the building, and they won that competition in 2009. We did groundbreaking in 2012, and we opened in 2016. So, but even before that, our founding director, Lonnie Bunch, was hired in 2005. Our legislation was 2003. And as you may know from coming to the museum, there were several people involved for about a century working on a museum like this.
Sure. A lot of time both in the ideas behind the museum, putting together the actual pieces and getting it built. We also get questions from our side: how long did it take our artists to build this? So Applied Imagination, the artists based out of Kentucky, built it. They've been working on this one for about 6 months or so. They're a team of multiple artists that build all of our buildings out of plant materials here. So our building didn't quite take as long as yours. We carry almost 200 years of history ourselves, being founded in 1820. And so we're excited to kind of have this modern piece of history here added in our collection. If you want to see the real buildings, you can definitely come to DC, find theirs on the end of the National Mall right beside the Washington Monument, which you can kind of see overhead here replicated in our own space. And if you want to come see our brand new plant-based building, it's now on display this year until January 1st as part of our holiday show. We're open every day of the year, including all the holidays from 10 to 5. There's no admission charge. And if you don't see it this year, definitely come back and see it next year, because it'll be back as part of our permanent collection for every year now that visitors can come and find this new plant-based building of the National Museum of African American History and Culture. Thank you so much for joining us, Michelle. We're so happy to have you.